everybody, how are you feeling today? It's everyone here, and today I'm coming at you with a Vendread deck profile. So today I kind of noticed that we went above 400 subscribers, and I cannot say you guys how much I'm grateful for you, that you're still liking my content, that you're still following the channel. Even those that are new, I want to say thank you so much for keep supporting me, even though it's not like a Patreon or so. It's still meaning a lot for me, and we'll see about Patreon in the near future. But for the time being, I need to find out how I'm going to celebrate this 400 subscribers, or just wait for 500 to make something a little bit bigger. But we'll see when we'll get to that. But without further ado, let's get started with this Vendread deck profile. Now, another thing I would say, I'm running a little bit different lineup of a lot of things that other YouTuber does. I just want you to understand that. I'm not saying that their builds are bad or anything. I'm just thinking there's some cards that they're running their decks that I don't understand why, and because of that I'm running different. As well as that I don't understand why you want to run over 40 cards in a deck that don't like to have over 40 cards. But let's just get started. So for the ritual monsters, you want to run 3 copies, 3 copies of Vendread Slayer and 1 copy of Battlelord. Those are just standard for a Vendread ritual deck. It's just really standard, and you know what those 2 does. I don't think I need to explain that. And then the last ritual monsters that I'm running is 1 copy of Vendread Chimera, which is the new addition to the decks. I finally got it. And I also got Executor, but I found out that Chimera is a lot more better than Executor, and I want you to hear why. First of all, the effect of Vendread Executor are a lot more hard to pull off. The first effect of protecting from targeting is only when it's ritual summoned, and the second effect from the destruction is only when he dies by opponent cards, which is really hard to pull off compared to the Chimera, a little bit more utilitized effects, as well as that when Chimera is tributed or banished for a ritual summon of a Vendread monster, you get to reduce all of your opponent's monsters by 500 attack and defense, which is a lot more better in my opinion for a battle-oriented archetype such as Vendreads. And I don't find myself finding a little bit of a problem to get over 3000, because I also have few cards in the extra decks that can do that for me. And because of that, I find like Chimera is a lot more better, as well. It doesn't eat way too much resources compared to Executor. It's like eating 1 monster less more of the time for the ritual summon, instead of eating 3 cards in the graveyard compared to 2, or just eating less important cards in the grave. So I find to myself Chimera is a lot more better than Executor, but you're more than welcome to run Executor instead of Chimera if you wish. Next up, for the Vendread effect monsters, I'm running 1 copy of Revenants, 1 copy of Houndhorde, 1 copy of Striges, 1 copy of Core, and 1 copy of Anima. I'm only running 1 of each, because I don't find I need more than 1 of each, because all of their effects are hard once per turn, and once you see them in your grave, which is not that hard because you do run Vendread Charge and other kind of things, you don't really need more than 1. Having more than 1 in the grave is just really bad, and I have enough monsters that I can just use them, have ways to get them to a graveyard with a Unizombie, Foolish Burial, Vendread Charge. I have ways to get them there, and I don't really need more than 1. Vendread Anima is the new addition to the deck, which has the effect of when he can banish itself from the graveyard, and then target one of your banished Vendread monsters, special summon it, as well as if it's on the field, is giving the ritual monster the ability to banish any monster destroyed by battle with that card. So that's really nice. Vendread Core has a nice effect when it's in the graveyard. You can banish 1 other zombie type monster and then special summon it, and then banish it of course when it's leave the field, and then it's also make your opponent that he cannot target your the Vendread ritual monster with card effects. Then you have Striges, which when it's sent to the graveyard, you need to reveal a Vendread card. And then if used for a ritual summon, you pretty much give the monster the ability to, after damage calculation, if a monster is battling an opponent monster, you can draw cards and discard a card, which is really nice for set up your graveyard. And then you have Houndhorde, which is, if it's in the graveyard, you discard a Vendread card and special summon it. And then you're giving your monster the ability as a once per turn quick effect to target 1 spell and trap card your opponent control, banish it. And then you have Revenant, which, again, one of the worst one because it needs to be dependent on your opponent by destroying by battle by card effects that your opponent has. And then a card, of course, your opponent cards. And then once per turn, as a quick effect, you can banish one special summoned monster your opponent controls, which is really good as well. But unfortunately, it's once again really dependent. And in my opinion, running one of each of the Vendread monsters, it's more than enough. Of course, the effect monsters and the ritual monsters, 5 maximum is the most that you need. And that does it for the Vendread cards. Now we'll move on to the generic zombie support. So first of all, we're running 4 of the Zuki Bravers, which is 4 Mizuki, 3 Mizuki, and 1 Gazuki. My apologies. 3 Mizuki because it's better than Gazuki, but Gazuki is still a really needed card. If you do not find Gazuki useful, you can cut it down and put something else. I just felt like 1 Gazuki is okay, although I do think I want to maybe cut it down because I do find sometimes that Gazuki is like super useless and does absolutely nothing, but you know, it's just my decision. Next up, you want to run 3 copies, of course, of Solitaire and 1 copy of Spirit Master because I don't find any other spots for Spirit Master, unfortunately. Again, a really good card, but I just don't have the space for it, but this is the lineup of the Shiranui monsters that you want to run. And then to be searched by, or should I say special summon from the deck by the effect of Shiranui Solitaire, you want to run 3 copies of Unizombie because it's an amazing card. Again, another card I'm considering cutting it down by 1 because it's kind of getting cloggy if you're seeing multiples in your hand, but it's still a really amazing card, and it is a nice target for a lore, so I do keep it at 3. But again, we'll have to see when we'll get to additional more support, or should I say more ritual support, in Cybernetic Horizon. And that does it for the monsters. Now move on to the spells. So for the spells, 2 copies of Vendread Charge, as well as 1 copy of Vendread Knights. 2 and 1, in my opinion. Vendread Charge is probably the better option, but sometimes you do want Vendread Knights. And I felt to myself, like at the start I run 3 Vendread Charge, which did work really well, but sometimes I needed the utility of Vendread Knights, as well as that sometimes I open up with 2 Vendread Charge, and of course you cannot do 2 things with 2 Vendread Charge, which does let you, if you open up with 1 Vendread Knight and 1 Vendread Charge, you know, the other way around, I don't know why I like point the other one when I say the other one's name, but doesn't really matter. And you could use those 2 for utility as well. Vendread Knight is also really useful if you want to discard a ritual spell, and then just use a Preparation of Right to just add the ritual spell back from your grave to your hand if you add a ritual monster, of course. So that's really cool as well. And that does it for that. And speaking of the ritual spells, we're running still 3 copies of Vendread Origin, which is awesome. Ritual spell, and then 2 copies of Vendread Evolution. Evolution probably the worst one out of the 2, but still really useful. It does destroy your monster during the next end phase, which means that during your opponent's end phase. As well, it has a nice effect to also sending cards from your 1 Vendread monster from your deck to your graveyard, but you also have to make it equal to the number, as well as you cannot banish Vendread monster from the graveyard or any zombie type monster to kind of use this ritual summon, unfortunately. And it's kind of a lot more restrictive and it's a hard once per turn, so yeah, I didn't find more uses to run this card at more than 2. Then for the searcher for the ritual spells, you're running 3 copies of Preparation of Rites, which can also add a ritual monster from your grave to your hand. So that's really cool if you need to. And you have more copies of this in the deck, and you think like, okay, my Preparation of Rites is dead in my hand. No. As long as you have a spell in your deck and a ritual monster in your deck or your graveyard, with the name of course, you can still activate this. So do remember that. Then 2 copies of Preparation of Rites, because additional search is always nice, but I felt like 3 is way too much, so 3 and 2, in my opinion, just the correct ratio. Then we'll move on to the rest of the spells. So first off, 3 copies of Allure Darkness. Obvious, this deck have 13 monsters dark. You can make a usage out of it, and some of those are like monsters that you don't mind banishing because you have multiples. And then 1 copy of Monster Reborn, 1 copy of Foolish Burial, and the card that does help you if you banish way too much from your Allure Darkness or any other effect is Burial from Different Dimension, which I also run at 1. And that does it for the main deck. No trap this time. Like I said, if you do find some cards, which I did find like 1 or 2 cards that I might want to cut down and run traps instead, I will do it. But on the other hand, I found the problem with the traps with the Vendreads, if you do not run enough traps, your opponent's probably going to pinpoint that it's either Vendread Knights or the Shiranui trap or the other, other traps that, he could use something against them because they're not quick traps and, counter traps. And because of that, I felt to myself like running those traps is a little bit dumb, but if you want to run them in the side, if you're going first, of course, in a Vendread deck, I like to go second, but if you do want to do that, you're more than welcome. So that does it for the main deck. Now we'll move on to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, I'm running one copy of Shiranui Sun Saga, one Shogun Saga, and one Samurai Saga. I think from my videos, you should already know what each and every single one of them does already, because it's been like 4 to 5 videos I already run this, guys. And those guys are really, really awesome. They're a nice package. You can cut this card down if you want to for something else, but I like to run the entire package when I run them, so yeah, I run one of each because I like them. Next up, 2 copies of Omega. I never find that I need a third, but I do run 1 copy of Zeta because Zeta is a nice level 7 and sometimes I need a level 7 synchro. So I thought to myself, like, I do make 2 Omegas in the game, why not also run Zeta, which can also get rid of a problematic monster, as well, just in general, it's a good not rank, but a level 7 synchro monster. I am considering maybe to change it to the the FA level 7 synchro monster, but unfortunately I don't have it on me right now, so yeah. Next up, for the rest of the synchros, we're running 1 copy of Trishul, the Dragon of the Ice Barrier, because you make it with the greater of ease. If you have Unizombie, and then you have another level 3 Vendread monster, like, you have the ability to make Trishula. Like, it's really super easy. I'm not going to show it right now, but it's just really super easy to make this card, and you know how good Trishula is. Then 1 copy of Bills, because again, if you can make it with a greater of ease, you just have to take what his name is, Unizombie, and another level 4 monster or level 5 monster, and there you go. 1 copy of Black Rose Dragon, because it's Black Rose Dragon, board wipes. 1 copy of Coral Dragon for the level 6s, again, and then 1 copy of Herald of Arclight, because Herald of Arclight is amazing in the case that when it's sent to your graveyard you get a search, as well just in general it's a nice card to set on, and it has also a nice protection effect, like, you tribute it for negating effects, as well as just it's making your opponent think twice before they send cards to the graveyard, so that's really, really cool as well. And it's really, really nice, I believe, against what her name again? Forgot Lightsworns. Yeah, forgot the name of Lightsworns for a second. I don't know why. But anyway, now we'll move on to the Xyz, and one of the Xyz is supposed to be the new level rank 6 vampire monster, which is this card. This is supposed to be the rank 6 vampire monster because I found it up to be really, really useful in the deck, so just consider it that. Unfortunately, it's not out yet, but it's going to be like in 2 days or so, so I still consider that as the card. And I don't remember its effect fully, but it's really a good card to just get rid of annoying cards. And yeah, just if you do have the ability to read its effect, or just if you want to run it, you're more than welcome. But I felt to myself, like if you do not want to run it, 101 is also a nice option. 1 Castel because it's Castel, and 1 copy of Lavier because Lavier is pretty much the best rank 3 I can make here. It's returning cards to from the graveyard, and from the banished to the field, and then you can use them again. My apologies, of course. And then the last card I'm running is 1 copy of the Link Monster. Unfortunately, I don't have it as well. The new Vampire Link Monster. I don't find you need more than 1 because you don't really need it for the zones. You need it for the draw power and the first turn setup with Omegas. But then you don't really need it for the zone. So more than 1, like 1 is just enough. And then you just can keep revive it and getting draws from it every single turn. And because of that, I found like 1 Vampire Sucker is more than enough. But if you want to run 2, you, once again, more than welcome. And that does it for the extra deck and does it for the deck profile. So hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button if you find out that you want to follow me every single moment, of course, and be an annoying stalker. But it doesn't really matter. I actually like you guys really, really much. Anyway, I'll see you guys next video. and we'll see you guys with the 400 or 500 subscribers special. I don't know what I'm going to do yet with that, but remember, creativity is the key in this game. Have a good day, guys, and stay safe.